This story is enraging. These two twins were assaulted simply because a man couldn't accept rejection. We have dating coaches on these apps sitting up here telling guys to go for it, even when you're rejected. We have women that are simply giving phone numbers to men simply so they could get away alive. And people don't understand why women are acting the way we are acting these days, moving the way we are acting these days. There is no reason why this 19-year-old should be dead, and her family should be grieving because one of these Ashgardians didn't know how to say no. When women avoid crowds, groups of Ashgardians, and people are like, not all, not all. How are we supposed to know? How are these young girls supposed to know which one is a not all? 19-year-old Samyia Spain is dead, and her identical twin sister is probably going to have that kind of survivor's guilt that just eats you up alive. Can you imagine being that twin sister today, waking up and your other half is gone? All because they weren't interested. They weren't doing anything. They just were not interested. And now one of them is gone. Here is the story as reported by the news.
Heartbreak for a family tonight after 19-year-old twin sisters were both stabbed in Park Slope early this morning. One of the sisters tonight has succumbed to her injuries. Fox 5's Kendall Green has more on the brutal attack.
She's taking it real hard. You know, you never expect nothing like this to happen. What are you going to do?
Alfonso Goodson is facing a level of grief he never imagined he'd feel after getting a sobering call Sunday about his granddaughter, 19-year-old Samyia Spain.
Said, Granddaddy, Samyia got stabbed and she died. You know.
What was your reaction?
I couldn't believe it. My wife started crying and everything.
Police got the call about a stabbing around 2:20 Sunday morning after someone stabbed Samyia and her twin sister right outside of the Natural Plus bodega in Park Slope, Brooklyn. Mohammed Albar, who works at the store, watched the girls grow up.
They're very nice girls. I know the family. It's very nice. So sad to see them, one of them gone, you know, one of them, she passed away.
A witness on scene says some guys were hanging out at the store, hitting on the group of girls who just walked in.
One of the guys had complimented the two girls that had walked in with their friends, and they said no.
The groups started going back and forth arguing before one of the men walked down the block angrily, according to witnesses. Minutes later, one of the men in his 20s, they say, came banging and kicking on the bodega doors, with the girls still inside. Workers locked the door until he walked away again. When they unlocked the doors, that's when the attack happened.
A guy in all black had stabbed one of the girls in her neck and the other in her arm and ran,
leaving the knife he used right there on scene. Officials expect Samyia's twin sister to be okay, while the workers who witnessed the brutal attack, too, have their scars.
When I came in, they went out. They look like in their faces like so sad about it.
The news reinforcing nearly every father's fear.
I think every father would think about something like this happening. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the worst call you could get, like, you know, something happened to your daughter.
Now, police have yet to make an arrest in the case. Anyone who may have seen anything or know anything about the suspect is asked to come forward. In Park Slope, Brooklyn, Kendall Green, Fox 5 News.
So when these men jump on these apps, these social media platforms, and holler, not all, or why do you guys give your phone number out to people knowing you're not interested? Bring them back to these cases where women simply lost their lives simply for not being interested. That was their only issue. They weren't interested. And now, like this girl, these women are gone. Another enraging story, how the Gambia wants to bring back FGM. Obviously, the news mashup this morning is quite sensitive. In a global first, Gambia could reverse its ban on FGM. An attempt to repeal a 2015 ban on FGM in Gambia has been sent for further committee discussions by lawmakers, and I'm sure that these lawmakers are men. Gambian activists fear the passage of the bill that would overturn years of work to better protect girls and women. The legislation was referred to a national committee for further debate and could return to a vote in the weeks and months ahead. Activists in the largely Muslim country had warned that lifting the ban would hurt years of work against a procedure that performed on girls under the age of 5 in the mistaken belief that it would control their sexuality. Why do women and girls need to be controlled? Women and girls are full and actualized humans, but these MFers just will not let women and girls live life without being controlled. And it is enraging. The procedure, which has been called FGM, includes the partial or full removal of the external genitalia, often by traditional community practitioners with tools such as razor blades or at times by health workers. It can cause serious bleeding, death, and childbirth complications, but remains a widespread practice in parts of Africa. Jaha Dukure, the founder of Safe Hands for Girls, a local group that aims to end the practice, told the AP she worried that other laws safeguarding women's rights could be repealed next. Dukure underwent the procedure and watched her sister bleed to death. If they succeed with this repeal, we know they might come after the child marriage law and even the DV law. This is not about religion, but the cycle of controlling women and their bodies, she said. The UN has estimated that more than half of women and girls aged 15 to 49 in Gambia have undergone the procedure. The bill is backed by religious conservatives in the nation of less than 3 million people. This text says it seeks to uphold religious purity and safeguard cultural norms and values. The top Islamic body has called the practice one of the virtues of Islam. Understand that I am anti-religious in general. It's not just Christo fascism. It's not. It's all of these religions that are upheld for and maintained by men to control women and girls. Gambia's former leader, Yahya Jammeh, banned the practice in 2015 in a surprise to activists with no public explanation. Since the law took effect, enforcement has been weak, with only 2 cases prosecuted. On Monday, a crowd of men and women gathered outside Gambia's parliament, some carrying signs protesting the bill. Police in riot gear held them back. Gambia's parliament of 58 lawmakers includes 5 women. 5. Like I said, this is probably just men pushing this through. If the bill eventually passes through Parliament, President Adama Barrow is expected to sign it into law. He has not spoken publicly about the legislation. The United States has supported activists who are trying to stop the practice. Earlier this month, it honored Gambian activist Fatou Balde at the White House with an International Women of Courage Award. The U.S. Embassy in Gambia declined to say whether any high-level U.S. official in Washington had reached out to Gambian leaders over the bill. In its email statement, Geta Rao Gupta, the top U.S. envoy for global women's issues, called it incredibly important to listen to the voices of survivors like Balde. The chairperson of the local Center for Women's Rights and Leadership, Fatou Jengne Senghor, said the bill is aimed at curtailing women's rights and reversing the little progress made in recent years. The president of the local Female Lawyers Association, Anna Ng, said, and please forgive me, y'all, if I'm saying these names incorrectly, said the practice has been proven to cause harm through medical evidence. UNICEF said earlier this month that some 30 million women globally have undergone FGM or FGC, however you say it for yourself, in the past 8 years, most of them in Africa, but some in Asia and the Middle East. More than 80 countries have laws prohibiting the procedure or allowing it to be prosecuted, according to a World Bank study cited this year by a UN Population Fund Q&A published earlier this year. They include South Africa, Iran, India, and Ethiopia. No religious text promotes or condones FGM, says UNFPA, adding there is no benefit to it. Girls are subjected to the procedure at ages ranges from infancy to adolescence. Long-term, it could lead to urinary tract infections, menstrual problems, pain, decreased sexual satisfaction, and childbirth complications, as well as depression, low self-esteem, and post-traumatic stress disorder. All it's doing is harming women and girls, but they keep with this barbaric practice. Another story of unprotected women. This is from the Financial Times. Opus Dei, how 3 women escaped domestic servitude in the secretive Catholic group. It's so crazy how some of these religious organizations are so barbaric to women and girls. Okay, Opus Dei is a conservative Catholic religious order. Opus Dei means work of God, and its connection to powerful figures fueled the nefarious and hyperbolic depiction of the group in Dan Brown's 2003 blockbuster thriller, The Da Vinci Code. Opus Dei feverish zeal for its founder and secretive status of its estimated 95,000 members and the power it wields around the world has ruffled religious ranks. But far less known are the women whose labor has propped up the group for decades. Many young women and teenage girls around the world join the group in search of qualifications and employment opportunities in cooking and household administration. Slowly but surely, they were coerced into Opus Dei's practices and spiritual obligations. Opus Dei centers are strictly segregated by sex, with locations chosen for their ability to conceal the existence of male and female residents from one another. Once there, the women could clean, clothes, cook, and serve meals. There are about 4,000 domestic workers known as assistant numeraries working for Opus Dei today. There is an expectation that they'll dedicate their lives to the organization, but in many cases, they have done so without pay and against their will. There's another name for that. It's called a slave. Information was strictly controlled. Newspapers at some centers were cut apart to protect members from articles that might be corrupting, while sinful music and television were restricted or banned. Those who tried to run away or leave were often coerced into staying by spiritual directors who encouraged the girls to share and critique their innermost thoughts and bad spirit. So the Financial Times says that it is interviewing these three women from Argentina and Ireland, and I definitely will have to find the link for that. But the overarching theme, women and girls are born into servitude and need to be controlled. That is the theme that we're seeing with all of these stories. Women and girls are disposable and they shouldn't be able to reject men, and they need to be controlled by men. Jump in the comments, let me know. Now to this story. Glamorous Millionaire Queenpin, 53, is accused of running crime ring of 12 women called California Girls, who stole $8 million in cosmetics and designer clothes, storing them in 4,500 square feet mansion and selling them on Amazon. Okay, so the talking points. Michelle Mack, 53, recruited up to 12 young women to steal from stores across the country and mail the loot back to her $3 million home. She would give them lists of what she wanted and pay their airfares to more than a dozen states nationwide. Prosecutors have charged her, her husband Kenneth, and 7 known associates with 136 felony counts of grand theft. All right, the full story. A wealthy California mom is accused of masterminding a nationwide shoplifting organization that stole millions of dollars worth of makeup and clothes from hundreds of stores for more than a decade. Michelle Mack, 53, allegedly paid airfares and hotel bills and car rental costs for up to a dozen operatives who would post their loot to her home in Bonsall before she sold it for knockdown prices through her company on Amazon Marketplace. Through a front company on Amazon Marketplace. Her gang, dubbed the California Girls by investigators, operated in more than a dozen states coast to coast, targeting outlets including LensCrafters, Sephora, and at least 231 Ulta stores. Police found a mini store of goods worth $350,000 in a 5 a.m. raid on her $3 million home and fear the total hit to retailers may have topped $8 million. If you try to make an easy buck off of other people's hard work, we will arrest you and prosecute you, said California Attorney General Rob Bonta as charges were filed. So this is her and her husband just smiling. Here's this criminal being taken into custody. And look at this store, this warehouse of stolen goods. Y'all know how we see all of these smash and grabs. I'm wondering how much of them she has masterminded. Investigators spent more than 2 years trying to break the gang, which was tasked with clearing entire shelves of goods which they concealed in Louis Vuitton bags. The conspiracy stated to unravel when 2 shoplifters were arrested in an Ulta store on the East Coast, and one of them told police that she was working for a woman in California who provided her with a list of stores to target and the prices she would pay for stolen items. A search of her phone revealed dozens of messages from a woman later identified as Mac. Investigators then found that Mac ran a retail outlet on Amazon called Online Makeup Store, which offered more than 300 items on its product line. The items listed for sale were nearly 50% off of the actual retail price, which was included in the sales listing, a search warrant application explained. This steep discount suggested the items were being fenced. Amazon provided investigators with records showing the outfit had racked up sales worth $8 million since 2012, including nearly $2 million in 2022 alone. They also claim Mac induced others to participate in the commission of the crime or occupied a position of leadership or dominance of other participants in its commission. I'm not stealing regular. I'm going to start filling up my bag quick, so I want to know stuff I can grab in bulks too, defended Kimora Lee Gooding text Mac on January 7th last year. Days later, Mac texted her husband, even without Lancome, we still did well, before he replied, lots of orders, let's get shipping. Investigators raided her home in northern San Diego County on December 6th before filing 140 charges against Mac and her husband, Kenneth, and 7 of her alleged gang. On entering the 4,500 square foot mansion, they located and seized hundreds of parcels prepped for shipment that would ultimately be mailed through the local post office. The charges include 136 felony counts of grand theft, 2 counts of receiving stolen property, 1 count of conspiracy, and 1 count of organized retail crime. I see the justice system work slowly, but it seems to be working, one of Mac's neighbors told NBC7. One of the women, Alina Franco, reportedly had $67,000 worth of stolen beauty products at her home in Colton, San Bernardino, when her home was raided the same day. In July last year, Max text Franco asking, did you get some new girls? I really need products, so if you have anything, please let me know. Franco appeared in court on February 27th, where she denied multiple felony counts, including conspiracy to commit organized retail theft. The National Retail Federation estimates that retailers lost $40.5 billion to shoplifters in 2022, much of it to organized gangs. The number of cases brought against organized theft groups by Homeland Security investigations more than tripled from 59 to 199 between 2021 and 2022, when we saw a lot of these smash and grabs. This is wild, and I really hope they start targeting these people, because we have seen so much of these things, and a lot of these stores are leaving or shutting down because of people like this. This type of person deserves to be in jail for a long time, and they definitely need RICO charges. This is definitely organized crime. All right, jump in the comments. Let me know what you think of these stories. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.